is about you. You are the selling point, and the landscape is changing. So be your authentic self, because no one wants to go to work being miserable all day. Look at your own resume, look at your own LinkedIn, and look at your impact and what you have provided for that other company. And if you write things in that context, you're going to talk to the next employer.
In my opinion, it's about giving the customer what they really want and just blowing their mind once they get it. And that's what I really love to see, honestly.
Get people to do more of home cooking, home cooked meals, healthy meals, so we can all live long and happy.
I'm very proud to be a mom, because not for nothing, women are amazing.
Oh my God, the sacrifice, and how we make it look so easy.
I was just telling Joanne before we got on the call, I said, I had to run from my daughter's school. They had an Easter egg hunt. I said, all right, Mom, I gotta go to work. But, you know, just as moms, we make it happen, you know, supernatural abilities. We are the example for them, you know, and I know that with them being a better version of us.
You have to try. You never know how creative you are until you try. Because I didn't think I was creative. I found my creative side during a horrible time in my life.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Lunch and Learn Thursdays with Juneteenth NYC. My name is Athenia Rodney, CEO and founder of Juneteenth NYC, and we are glad to have you on with us. We have a very special guest on today, and I'm still glowing. I'm still excited about my birthday last week and all of the celebrations that have happened. And thank you, everyone, for your well wishes and your love, and just it really warmed my heart and really just allowed me to take in all of the things that I am doing. Thank you for everyone who joined our membership, our early bird membership process. So the round 2 will be coming out as well. But I say that all to say, it is another great day where we get to meet another amazing individual that has some super dope information to drop for all of us. And I hope you all are ready. And today is going to be about the market, which a lot of us, I'm sure, especially with all of the challenges, just hearing yet again another group of individuals who were released from their jobs on this past week. A lot of city agencies that is happening. And this is a very important part of like what's next, like what's our next steps, and how can we operate in that space for our lives, for our families, for our households, like everything that might encompass. A lot of us are leaders in different ways. And, you know, people depend on us. And when we don't feel certain about where our future lies, there comes more challenges. So I'm very grateful to have our guest for today. And I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. Christopher Turner. He is a financial advisor at Reveal Wealth. Chris specializes in working with professionals and business owners, particularly assistant physicians, nurse practitioners, and therapists. Originally from St. Louis, Missouri, which I didn't know. Okay, he found his passion for finance while studying at Oral Roberts University, which is also I didn't know, which is my aunt went there. So that's really exciting. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about that from you. Inspired by the legacy of the Greenwood District, also known as Black Wall Street, with years of experience in financial advising and a deep commitment to bridging the racial wealth gap. I love that. Chris believes in helping his clients shift their financial mindset from labor to love. All right, now, today's session, market timing versus time in the market. Will break down investment strategies, the impact of market volatility, and how long-term financial planning can create generational wealth. So I will bring Mr. Chris on to the stage. Welcome, Chris. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Awesome. So Chris is also a part of a group that we are in called Power Core. And so it has been, he has been my coach since I started, and I am thankful for his guidance and just learning the ropes on how to network in different spaces. But Chris, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit deeper about this Oral Roberts thing, and then we can get into your presentation.
Sure. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Single mom. I always had an attitude of, it seemed like we didn't have enough money. It seemed like we were always short on money. And later I found out that wasn't quite the case. But in my mindset as a kid, I was like, we're always broke. So my mindset was whenever I got money, I held on to it. I kept it close to my bosom. I got a little money and I'm like, I'm not spending it. Just one of those things where I took in money and it just made me feel comfortable with just having the money, but I didn't understand investing. So that's one of the reasons why I got into financial planning. And then, of course, when I eventually went to Oral Roberts University, that is a Christian college, and they preach, the word of God and evangelism and things like that. And I look at this sort of like an evangelism move, but it wasn't until I actually visited the original Black Street that really set me on a path, because it was a group of people who made good money outside of their, of everyone else. They came together, all African American, and they pooled their resources together, attorneys, businessmen, politicians, all of them. They all came together and they were doing very, very, very well until the outside, grew jealous and, did what they did. And all of that is history. So now I see a lot of Black Wall Streets popping up all over the country. And it's good. It's good because when we come together, some amazing things can happen. But it starts with education and, of course, discipline. So that's kind of where I go from my platform. So just rolling right into time in the market and spending time in the market. So I'm gonna go ahead, and you want me to go right into the slide? You ready?
Yeah, I actually, just had a little selfish question while we pulling this up. So what did your parents do to make you think that they didn't have any money? Because see, my kids, they seem to think that, the tree is plentiful. And no matter how much I tell them we ain't got it, they still, have it in their mind that they get. So I am interested in hearing what your parents did.
Well, like I said, my mom, she divorced my dad a little bit after I was born. She decided she was working for the post office, and she actually made okay money. But she was in fear because she no longer had that extra income, and it was three of us. So, I'm sorry, four. It was four of us. So she just kept it close to the vest whenever, hey, Mom, I would like, no, we don't have it. Hey, Mom, I would love, no, we don't have it. And I just learned that, wow, we don't have anything. We just broke. But, we never missed a meal. We never kicked out. It was nothing like that. But I grew to understand that, one of the first things I was like, I wanted a job. People were like, what you want to grow up and do? I just want to make some money. And that's kind of how I started on my journey of, let's get into actual having money and showing people how to duplicate this money, how to multiply this money. And that's kind of how I got my start there. But yeah, I always say that's from my mom's fault. She always told me we didn't have anything.
So I got to always say no is what I'm hearing. Not a problem.
Always say no. Listen, we don't have it. We don't have it. I can't prove it. She can't prove it. And I'm not going to ask her to tell her to prove it to me because she'd knock my head off. So that wouldn't work.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to give you the platform. You can go through your presentation, and then I'll be back to do Q&A. So if you have questions, those who are watching, please feel free to drop them in the chat.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and talk and then just have her move on with the slide. So right now we're in a situation here that is very interesting with the different tariffs. Yesterday was the Liberation Wednesday, and this is where all the tariffs are taking place. Many countries are getting hit. It's funny, I just read not too long ago that some of the African countries are getting hit really nicely too, if not, more. So again, I don't know how factual that is, but again, everyone is getting tariffs, and what it is that people think it's a punishment to the other countries, but it will affect us. So the market is responding as such. Even now, as we look at it, do not go look at your 401k if you can't stomach the situation, because right now the markets are on a spiral as of right now. So go ahead with the next slide. So I keep next slide. There you go. So volatility in the market. So the market is a place where you can, when I call the market, we're talking about the different indexes: S&P 500, Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, the Dow. These are indexes where we can literally put money or invest money in. Brings us to mutual funds. It could be stocks, it could be bonds, but these are items that the market, the economic conditions will determine whether or not the price will increase or decrease. Right? So in this particular slide right here, it says remain committed to your long-term goals. So anytime you participate in the stock market, you have to think, how long do I plan on being in it? Is this a short term? Is it a long term? Long term is typically anything that is over, it could be over a year, but mainly when it comes to retirement, it's over 10 years, right? So you want to remain committed to your long-term goals. If you look at this slide, this shows kind of the power of what the S&P 500 index will give you. So if you were to put $10,000 in 1987, all the way until now, that $10,000 will be worth $417,000. So I hear people say all the time, I wish I would have bought Microsoft. I wish I would have bought this soft. Wish I would have bought Apple. I wish I would have bought Tesla. We didn't know. No one knows. You take the chance, you put your money in there, we see what happens. I can tell you a lot of stocks that people thought was the next big thing, and all they did was lose their money. And typically that's what will happen, right? But in this case, this is the S&P 500 index. So if you find a mutual fund that's riding the S&P 500, when I say riding, I mean that mirrors the S&P 500 performance, then what will happen is this growth over time. As you can see, there are different periods in which there are drops in the market. You had your the dot-com bubble. You had your 2009. You even had when the markets went down during the pandemic. But after all of those moves, you see that 10,000 can be $417,000, and that is in a time span of about 40 years, a little bit less than. Okay. Next slide. So whenever you decide to get in the market, you have to understand that this is a portion of your portfolio or where you want to invest. There's a lot of different places to invest your money. This is a simple way and what I call people say, well, the market isn't safe. Look at it right now. But over time, you'll find that the market is actually a great place to put your money for long-term investing. If you look at this slide here, it shows the Great Depression. These were the last times we had multiple down years. You see there's multiple here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, all down years. After those 4 down years, you see the rebound, right? Now, this was around the Great Depression. Now you have World War II, which is in the early 40s. You see a little bit of down, then you see the market jump up. From there, this is the 70s right here. This is the oil crisis. Down, down, up. This is the dot-com. 2000, 2001, 2002, boom, shoots right up. Now, in between these times are positive market growth, which means you're winning. These are our losses. So you see here in 2009, big dip. Now, for those who are not ready to retire, not so much of a big deal, but do you know it? And how do you respond to it? Because you might say, well, oh my gosh, I went from 400,000 to 200,000. You know, people jumping off of buildings, getting scared. But the question is, do you have enough time to wait it out? Some people who are some of my clients who are in their 60s, they may not have time. So as a financial advisor, I have to be there to watch and see and find out how much of your retirement do we want to protect, because you can protect from these downside turns. There are protection vehicles, and we'll get into that at a later date or what have you. But as I said before, you see here, this was our most recent, was during the pandemic. I remember people were saying, hey, when President Trump first got into office, this is the first time. I love it, because I remember some advisors were telling people, hey, get out of the market, set everything in bonds and just wait. Okay. When that happened, the market was down for a little bit, then it shot right up. And what happens is when you're trying to time the market, that's when we mess up. So it's really about spending your time in the market versus actually timing the market. So you'll see people who try to time the market. They'll say, well, hey, you know what? Stocks right now, let's say, are $100 a share. If it's $100 a share, and they say, well, it was $200 a share. Now it's $100. So I want to wait before I buy because I think it's going to go down lower. Who knows what that low amount is? We're all trying to find what is the low point for me to invest. So is it going to go down to $50? Who knows? Let's say it does go down to $50. What are you going to do? So if it's $50 a share, that means you could buy more shares. So how much do you put into the market? It varies. Everybody's different. So what would happen is you could buy, let's say, 1,000 of those shares, right? 1,000 shares is at $50. That's $50,000. But then if that money starts going, if that share price goes down again from $50 to $25, now you just lost $25,000. So you have to understand what you're buying and how much you're buying and how long you're going to hold it. How much diversification is in these shares that you're purchasing. People always say they want to purchase the individual stock. That's a dangerous game, even though people do it. People buy individual stocks all the time. And I'm not here to say that that's a bad thing. Just understand what you're doing and how long you're going to be doing it. I have people come to me all the time. What about Bitcoin? What about this? What about that coin? All those things are good and they can make you money. Fact of the matter is, it's not proven, doesn't have a track record. When it's not proven and doesn't have a track record, you begin to go into more amusement investing. Another word for amusement investing is gambling. So if you look at the market here on this chart here, you'll see that it's pretty positive for the most part. The S&P 500 has about a 74% track record of winning out of 100 years. You will win 74%. How would you like to play those odds as opposed to a 50-50 or even less? Next slide, please. So time in the market versus timing the market. So let's look at this kind of slowly. So you'll see here's an initial investment of $10,000 going into an account back in 2008. I think that's 2008. I have to squint at it. Yes, 2008. So you see here, investor A stays in the market. Investor B decides to jump out of the market during the 2009 or when we experienced a drop. So they decide to get out of the market. Investor C never gets in the market at all. So what happens is investor B is a timer. Investor A just keeps their money in the market, and investor C never touches the market. So when you look at the results over here, you miss the market rallies because investor B is trying to time the market, trying to figure out when is a good time, the best time. And a lot of times that's really just a greed play. You're trying to find out how much more can I buy or when should I get out? We don't know when the top is going, when we don't know when the bottom is going to fall out. We don't know when it's going to reach the top. So why not just stay in there and take advantage of dollar cost averaging, which I will get into that in just a moment. But look at the person here who never touched the market. This is an example of hiding your gift under a bushel, keeping your money in your mattress. You barely got anything. And matter of fact, remember you invested $10,000. How did you lose money? You lost money through inflation. So as inflation goes, so the inverse is your value of your money, right? So if you had $10,000 in 2007, it's not worth $10,000 in 2025 because of inflation. The purchasing power, that's what we're looking at, the purchasing power. What can $10,000 get me now? So really, when it comes to the market, what I find is that a lot of people just don't understand the market. They're afraid of the market. They see it as gambling. And sometimes they believe, hey, it works too slow. I get people telling me that's just too slow. I don't want to wait 20, 30 years. I want to turn something in the next 3 days, in the next 30 days. That's where your risk factor increases. When you don't have the time, a short amount of time, your risk factor increases tremendously. Next slide. So here is an example of missing the best days of the market, how it can affect your return. Someone who's fully engaged in the market, their annual return is about 13.97%. This person missed I want to say the best 10 days of the market performance because they were too busy trying to time the market. 37,000. You see, that's almost a 50% reduction. This is when somebody missed the best 20 days, best 30 days. So it's really just downhill from there when you can have 13.9% as opposed to 3.75% on your money. This right here is in bank territory. You're not getting a whole lot of return on your money. So it's very important to stay in the market. It's not about how much you're trying to time it. It's about your time that you're invested in the market. Stay in it unless you're in a position where you're about to retire. And again, there's ways to protect yourself from that. I have a client right now who's, he's going to retire in 2 years. We were talking maybe about a month ago, and he's thanking me now. Like I just pulled not all, but he pulled some of his money out and decided to guarantee and protect it. So now, as the market, whenever it decides to rebound, he has a certain amount of funds on the side that he can either reinvest or that he can use, because when we took the money out of the market was still high. The market was still in a positive. Okay, next slide. So really what it comes down to is taking the emotion out of investing. Now, that's a hard thing to do. It's easier said than done. Why? Because money is an emotional topic. So I hear people all the time who say, well, hey, you know what? I started late. Your best friend when it comes to marketing is time and money. Discipline, time, and money. So when you have some money and you have some discipline and you have some time, there's a lot that you can do with it, as you can see in the prior examples. So here, this gives an example of someone who just say, you know what, I'm going to buy, like for instance, you got your market depreciation right now. So they're going to go in and say, well, I'm going to buy up a bunch of shares, and their average price per share is at, at this, I believe it's like the $17. That's a single investment right here, the $17. But what I train people to do, and you've probably heard it, is to utilize dollar cost averaging. So what you do is you will continue. It's funny. Going back into my days, I'll never forget this. It was a young kid. I was driving a bus in college, and this young kid was like telling me about mutual funds. I'm like, well, what does your parents do? Dad is a stockbroker at Morgan Stanley. Went to go meet him at Morgan Stanley. I told him, hey, I got about $15,000 I want to put in there. He said, hey, I don't want $15,000, but what you need to do as a young man is you need to go ahead and do something like $200 a month. Can you afford $200 a month to invest? Sure, at the time I could do it. So I just started putting in $200 a month. And what he was teaching me, he didn't say this word, but what he was teaching me was dollar cost averaging. So as the market was going up and down and all that it does, I am purchasing. You see here, these are purchases. So I'm purchasing them low, purchasing them high. I'm purchasing them low, purchasing them high. And altogether, my average cost is $12 a share instead of $17 a share. So I got more shares at a lower cost, which that is how you win when it comes to the market. That's another reason why we're set up in a system where your 401k is purchased just like that. If anyone is having a 401k, that's what you're doing. So whenever I try to get business owners like, well, okay, I don't have a 401k. I don't have someone who's drawing money out. So you have to take the initiative to start setting aside some money for yourself, not necessarily to roll back into the business, but to set aside for your own retirement. Because most business owners, one of the biggest mistakes business owners will make is that, hey, this business is going to be worth all this money and somebody's going to give me a bunch of money for it. I always tell people, remember, no one values your business as much as you do. So they're going to come down far. If you try to sell your business for $1 million, you think it's worth $1 million. Someone else probably say, well, I'll give you 300,000 for it. Be ready for it, because that they don't value it as much as you. And again, I'm speaking on general terms. I'm pretty sure there are some exceptions. So I hope this was helpful. I believe this is the last slide. If it's not, turn to the last slide, but I think this is the last one. Those are my talking points as it pertains to market timing versus time in the market. There has to be some patience, some discipline, and some understanding. Those are the key components to understand and how to succeed in this game when it comes to the stock market. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was good. So that patience part, yeah, see that's the part that I struggle with. Because I think with anyone, when we see we're working every day for our money, and I don't know, something about seeing the money go down and I didn't get to spend it, especially, I come from a poor family as well. So it's like, okay, every dollar, like I worked for that. So when it's going down and I didn't get to spend it on something that I wanted to do, that's like a gut wrenching pain almost, I feel. So when you said that, it definitely it hit home, and especially
it hit for a lot of people, because I like how you said that. You see that you've lost money and you did not spend it. Mm-hmm. That is a scary proposition for those who do not understand the market. So it's important I don't look at my investments that are in the market. Mm-hmm. There's no point, because I know I'm in there for the long haul. If I know my investments are going down today, I know I lost money. I didn't spend it, but I know I lost money today. And it's okay, because what am I going to do? I'm going to keep buying. And as I buy, it's going to grow in more shares. As more shares grow, they multiply, and then the value goes up. You have more of a quicker path going up than you did going down.
Makes sense. So we have a number of people on Instagram. We have Looks by London. We have Faith Jamila on I'm Doing Fine Okay. We have Chef Jimmy Thomas. We have Jalexia, we have Vic Creative, Still Nay, OJ, and a number of others. So if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll answer them. So I'm going to go through a couple of questions that we had here. for you, and I'll start with mine. So I had one. I was like, yeah, I looked at my 401k yesterday and was about to ready to pull it all out because I was like, oh my gosh. So are there ways I can invest that are more stable that you might consider?
So again, yes, there are ways that are more stable, but keep this in mind. If you are in, and it all depends on the type of portfolio you're in. If you're in an aggressive portfolio and you're like, this is too aggressive, I just felt the dip. So what you're going to do is if you sell, now you have actually realized that loss. That loss is real. It's not real until you sell. And that's what a lot of people don't get. It's not real. Why? Because I can go up tomorrow and then boom, you're back up. You didn't add any money to it. It just went back up. But if you sell it, now you've realized a loss if that's where your position was. Now, again, for some people, they've invested, they've done well, the market has done well, and we're just now hitting correction territory. So you were already up. So did you really lose? And it wasn't as great looking as it was. Instead of a 35 or 100, now we're down to about a 92. Hey, a 92 is still better than a 50.
Right.
So now you can look at, okay, maybe if I want to go into value stocks or bonds, you can do that. But just keep in mind that when you leave that, you've just realized your loss. And if you're not trying to spend that money in the next 2 years, leave it alone.
Got it. This one, thank you for that. This one is a little similar. How can investors manage risk while staying in the market for the long term?
So you manage risk by looking at the holding period versus your current financial situation. So your holding period is, when am I going to retire? Am I going to retire in 15, 10 years or what have you? So there are, if you have a 401k, there are mutual funds that are what is called target funds. And they're trying to manage that for you. So let's say when you started your job, you're probably in a target fund that's going to say, this being 2025, your target fund might be 2055. So what they're saying is that you're going to work 30 years. But if you're going to be done in 5 years, your target is now 2030. So what happens is when it's 2030, they're gearing you up, shifting your stocks into bonds and making it more safe than for those who are in a 2050, like maybe a daughter or somebody who's, just now starting off. They can go risk because they have time. So a lot of times a financial advisor, an actual fiduciary advisor, can explain that, like myself, I tend to go on the education side so you can understand the market, so you can make wise decisions in the 401k, because you're only going to retire one time. Best to try to get as much information and take it as serious as possible, because we're only going to do this one time.
Well, we hope. There are some people who are doing second and third retirement. So,
well, no, we have retirement funds. We're just going to retire one time. I mean, because we're not going to go back and try. Well, let me go back and let me be 40 again. Let me be 30 again and try this over. It'd be nice, but we can't do it. There's no do-overs here. We got to do what we can do, and knowledge is key.
I wish. Thank you for that. This one is similar to what we were talking about earlier today. Do you recommend investing in real assets such as precious metals, gems, property over the market? And my conversation with you earlier today was about the gold and silver and being able to buy real gold and silver. Just seeing that gold and silver over time, especially in spaces of recessions and depressions, have actually gone up instead of going down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I always say investing is a weird thing. It just depends on how much of it you got, how diversified you are. I definitely believe in precious metals and gold and things like that because they're stable. They're a hedge. against some of the, inflation that's going on and the ups and downs of the market. Those are stable, but I wouldn't put everything in it. But as far as part of my portfolio, absolutely. Just like real estate, you can purchase real estate as part of your portfolio. You want to put everything in real estate? No, because if 2009 happens, that's it for you. So we don't want to. We always want to keep a diversification. That means I got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that in terms of assets or asset classes.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Diversification is key, is what I'm hearing. So Sylvia mentioned, how do emotions influence investment decisions and how can we manage them? So we know that, I was just saying, based on, especially on historical basis, a lot of that may be a challenge for some people.
Well, here's the thing. If your foundation is set, that protects you from your emotional decisions. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Foundationally, we should all have low debt. Sometimes we have high debt, but low debt, a savings, a rainy day fund. Those are things that we need to have. Insurance, proper insurance in case something happens to you, whether it's disability or early death or whatever, to protect your family. Those protection features help you with investment decisions. When you look at and see how foundationally solid you are, you're able to make investment decisions that could afford you a little risk. Some of us have pensions. Some of us have real estate. Some of us have this amount of money that we save. If we have these things, then we could look at, okay, how much risk do I want to take? So when you say, how does emotions, they're the heart, they're the, what's the word? They are the catalyst. Mm-hmm. You don't want to make emotional decisions when it comes to your money. If you're afraid, you need to talk to someone like me. And like I said, I do free consultations, 30-minute consultations to help or whatever. I'm not saying I work for free. That's not what I'm saying. But I said, but we do free consultations in the beginning to be able to help you manage your emotions. And here's a book that will help you. Just a promo here. I don't know if you can see it. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Very good book for those of us who get a little emotional on our money.
Okay, I definitely will take a look at that and encourage you all as well. I'm a book reader, so as long as it is on Audible or I can get it, so I can listen while I'm driving, I'm good to go. I got a trip to Savannah in a couple of weeks, so that is my 4-hour reading material while I'm on the road. All right, so we have a couple more questions that I saw in here. Let's see. Got a lot of good jobs. This is great. I love this information. Somebody is asking about what industries would be a buy. I guess what industries would you suggest to buy today?
Again, it all depends. Right now, because of the possibility of recessions, what's going to happen is utilities, things that are not so sexy like gold, those things are going to become some great buys. Now, if you'd asked me last year before, now we're talking the Magnificent Seven, Amazon, Tesla, all these, Nvidia and all that. You want to buy that right now? You see how much they're going down? They're taking a huge hit right now. But again, if you'd have done it 2 or 3 years ago, then you'll find that, you would have made a lot of money. So tech stocks, we still think are going to be leading, just maybe not right now. You got your AI stocks. Those are leading, maybe just not right now, because anytime we experience those pullbacks, tech stocks, AIs, all that kind of stuff, that begins to go down first.
Got it. So I have one question from V. What investment do you suggest a late starter or someone close to retirement that hasn't started yet?
Again, another tough question. And unfortunately, when time is not of the essence, we have to look at your budget to see exactly how much can you put away. The thing is that if you don't have much time, we got to find it in the money. Either we're going to have time or we're going to have money, or both would be ideal. But if we don't have time, then we need to do something to reduce your costs, reduce your expenses, so you can be able to put money away. And there's places you can put it in. There's index and features. There's value funds, things like that. But it really just depends on your time horizon on when you're going to retire. So again, as a financial advisor, I can definitely help with that. Again, you have my information, so be able to post that if they desire to call us there.
Yeah, well, definitely. We will absolutely share your information, because this is all we got. A lot of good questions coming in, and they're still coming. What about micro investing instead of all in? So I guess what examples might be good for a micro investment?
Mm,
And I guess what is considered a micro investment? So, because I mean,
that's what I'd like to hear. I want to hear because I've heard the term, but I'm not sure if that's what she's actually speaking of. So, but whenever someone goes into micro investing, these are more targeted investments. These are more stocks and Bitcoins and your different type of asset. They're still market affecting. Mm-hmm. It's still market effects. I mean, they're affected by the market is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So it all depends. That's hard to say.
So I know there are trust, like local trusts that are starting to be like community land trust and stuff like that, that are starting to become very popular, where people in the community, and I don't know if this is where Shanice is kind of talking about, but where people in the community can basically own a piece of property or a piece of a community land by just putting in a couple of dollars, like $100 or $1,000 to invest, and still having some kind of ownership. Are you aware of that?
I can speak on that a little bit. So look at it like in some cases we call it a real estate investment trust.
Okay.
Nothing but a mutual fund. Basically, you can just pool assets, and it's almost like you're having an actual real estate or land, and it appreciates and things like that. So in this case, I've known people to go in and pool their resources, purchase land. Just keep in mind, you're dealing with people. Mm-hmm. Contracts have to be written up, protection has to be done, but ultimately you're dealing with people. So there better be some people that you really, really like, or really, really trust, or, because like I said, it's almost like I always say, when people purchase assets as a group, it's like starting you ever see like singing group, they come out like, oh, everybody's good. And you can see how beautiful they work together. But inside there's usually turmoil, and somebody's going to do something to somebody to make somebody mad, and everything falls apart. So you just got to have your contracts in place.
Got it. One of the questions that we had is just that we didn't get to touch on is, how does investing fit into helping to close the racial wealth gap?
When it comes to the racial wealth gap, which is really in my heart, education is key. It's just really education. I've sent people to read books on, like a book I just showed you, the Rockefellers and how they use life insurance. And these are just strategies that's just been used over time that we just didn't know about. And even if we knew about it, we didn't trust it. We're just late to the game. Mm-hmm. We're just late to the game. So I'm trying to talk to people, like we're doing here. Teach your kids to understand that, and understanding what I'm teaching or what you're reading, they have time. When you have time, that's when you have power. I remember, just a quick testimony about myself. I remember when no one taught me about investing for myself, and I didn't know anything about this. When I got my first job, they were offering on a 401k 3-to-1. That means for every $100 I put in, they gave me 300. And because I didn't understand the concept at first, I'm like, why would I do that? I'd rather keep my $100. I'd rather keep it and go spend it or go throw it in the bank. No better. But, now, we're trying to do what we can as Reveal Wealth. We're a minority-owned financial advisory group. It's about 8 of us. We're just trying to spread the word. We're trying to teach the young people or teach their parents so they can teach the young on how to get ahead and do the strategies that's been done over time. Again, I'm not saying don't do anything new or radical. Do it. But you want them to be in a position where they can do these things. That's the problem. We're never in a position where we can make radical moves. We're still trying to pay bills and all this other stuff. We miss out. I talked to a teacher. This was very interesting. I was talking to a teacher of a different persuasion of the major culture. And they were like, they teach because they love to teach. I just love the children, all of that good stuff. I just love the children. They're in there teaching. But
until they get on your nerves.
Until they get on, and then she can quit. He can quit. Because why? They got reserves. They got a husband making a bunch of money. They got a big house. They're doing this because they love it. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we're doing it because we need to.
Yeah.
We have to. And that's the difference. They don't need that $50,000, $60,000. We do. So that's where the gap comes into place. It's like their parents provided for them, whether it's through inheritance, whether it's through, whatever, just proper investing, where we're late to the game. We're just trying to get us from being late to the game.
No, I definitely appreciate that. And I feel like it's a little bit of a challenge. I mean, even for me personally, even though I know better, I try to teach my children. But I feel like I still am always behind the eight ball, still trying to figure it out. So, being able to teach them when I still don't have a grasp. I guess I'm answering my own question because in reality, we can learn together. And like you said, they have time, right? They have more time to be able to make some of those mistakes with their money and kind of figure it out. So by the time they get to my age, they've had something a little bit more stable. And it's something that you mentioned that is I just want to circle back around is that utilizing your job and finding out, like most jobs, nonprofits. I know my husband works for Home Depot. So I know a lot of these big agencies, they do these matching. And my husband even shared when he started, he was 18 years of age. And he, they same, just like you, they asked like, okay, we match your funds, in stocks and options. And then when you get into supervisory positions, they will give you stock options. And some people are like, that, what is that? And I don't want that. I want money. I want the money now. And it's like, no, well, you are buying stock options in the company that you're working for. And that's helping to increase, it makes you want to work that much harder because you see your impact and how it's padding your bank account.
Yeah. I have one of my clients who was at Home Depot and all kind of shares and just in great shape. I mean, she came from a poor area. She's got a mentality of like she's poor, but she's in wonderful shape, but she worked hard and they did all the matching, gave all the stocks. I'm like, take advantage of those things. Those are assets. Those are assets that you can use. And now she's in a position if she wants to do a little risky business, buy a franchise or not, she's in that position. And I think we should be in those positions. We should have the opportunity to purchase franchising. If you want to go in with your friend and you both purchase a Chick-fil-A franchise, I mean, why not? But again, you have to be in those positions. And, when we're struggling, trying to make sure, mortgage is paid and make sure rent is paid and all the things that we're riding around in very nice cars, got car payments of $500 to $1,500 a month. And, hey, at least you look good, but, you don't have anything to show for it. And remember, all these things you can't take with you when something happens.
Yeah, all like that. That's the only thing you're taking, or should I say, you leaving for your family, for your kids to have to deal with. we had this one question. Where is the best place to keep your savings? Is a savings account or another type of account best? And I'm
When it
assuming
comes to,
for immediate use kind of savings.
so I like flexibility in the savings account. So there's two ways that I like whenever I'm not investing. A high yield savings account is very good, right? High yield right now is not Bank of America, it's not Wells Fargo, it's not those big banks. It's the smaller online banks that's giving you 3%, 4%, 5%. Well, no one's giving 5% right now. So let's just say at 4%. 4% and 3%, those are the places where you want to put your safe money. And of course, if you have enough money in your safe money and you still need safe money, what most people don't understand is life insurance is pretty good. You're using life insurance. You can store some money in life insurance. It grows tax deferred. You pull it out, it's completely tax free. But it's all about how you use it. Not for everybody. Everybody can't do it. Everyone's situation is different.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. This has really been helpful. We've gotten a lot of good questions from the community and just really understanding. So you can see finance is a very big part of what we need and what we're still kind of struggling with in our community. And so having people like yourself that can come and share information and to help us move the needle a little bit. And like you said, diversification, not dealing with our emotions, not letting emotions take over what investing is, are some things that I wrote down myself as notes to kind of repeat to myself and to also share to others. As we are closing out for today, can you just share 3 simple things that, or maybe may not be simple, but can you share 3 things or takeaways that our watchers or viewers can take away from today's session?
Wow. First and foremost, get your debt paid off, especially credit cards. They're just not doing you any good. Just pay them off. 30%, 20% is painful. I think people don't really see it until they look at it and really analyze their statements and realize, wow, they are killing you. And it don't have to be that way. So definitely paying off debt. Maybe not mortgage, that depends. Maybe not student loans, that depends. Definitely credit card. And then, having yourself a rainy day fund. Simple stuff. You should have at least 3 to 6 months worth of money in the bank in case something happens to you. Why? Because if all of a sudden, if you don't have that money, you'll use credit cards. Big trap. If you don't have the credit cards, then what you'll do is you'll pull from your 401k or your IRA or something like that. In this atmosphere of what's happening, you don't want to pull from your investments when the investments are tanking. You don't want to, that's not the time to pull from it. So if you have adequate savings, that's what's important. And let the young people tell you, set up a Roth, some sort of account, whether it's through life insurance or Roth IRAs. Start setting something up for your kids. Throw a little money in there. Get them to see what's growing and show them. Don't tell them about it. They might, if it's a lot of money, but, just start saving up something for them, teach them, and then set them up. I always tell people, how do you think you would feel if after you graduated college or you turned 25, 28 years old, and all of a sudden somebody was like, here, $50,000, how would that help you in your mindset now? Now, probably when you were younger, you probably would have spent it. But in your mindset now, think about that. What could you have done with $50,000 just spraying on you and not necessarily go and buy some clothes or a car or what have you? So those are very important. And keep in mind taxes. Taxes is a huge thing. Telling people now, if you got a 401k, look at your job and see if they offer a Roth 401k. Do that instead of the 401k. You'll think before it, because we are seeing that taxes are going to be higher in the future.
That's a good one. That last one is an extra nugget right there. I love that. So we got a lot of people. Thank you for providing this information and expert information. Been there, done that. I'm glad to be on the other side. Well, that's great to hear. We have great information. Thank you from Green Butterfly. National office would like to know how many listening have 3 or 6 months budget saved. That's a good question. Short-term emergency always cut my funds. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think especially in this time, and we didn't talk about that since I started off, and this will be my last question. The A lot of people losing their jobs right now, right? So what do you suggest for those people who are like, and the market is being overwhelmed with people with loss of jobs? So that means more people are going to be needing to use their savings or things of that nature. What do you suggest in that space?
Well, again, depending on what they have, you got to determine how much, where to actually draw funds first. Know what whether it's unemployment, any type of severance, things like that. I've already got in contact with several members of the CDC who lost their jobs. So we're going to build a strategy. Just, again, it's going to be general because they don't have the money to, I don't want to charge them, hey, it's time for you to pay me first. We're just going to kind of set up some guidelines to be able to help them transition. Maybe you might want to set aside a portion of your 401k as an emergency fund. You can put some in a money market. It's a good time to maybe move a little bit to the money market, keep some in the market. But if you are over 60, then you can do what is called an in-service withdrawal. And you can take that money and you can put it in sort of like an index vehicle or something that's going to give you protection, so you don't lose the rest of it. So there's a lot of different things that we can do, and it just depends on the situation because everybody's different.
Got it. I love that. Well, thank you very much, Chris. This was really helpful. This was helpful for me. I hope all of you who are watching also felt that this was helpful. It looks like we may need to have you come back, Chris, and do a part 2 of this. So this was really amazing. I thank you. Everyone, please give Chris a round of applause, a round of thanks in the chat to just appreciate him for his experiences and his wealth of knowledge that he is sharing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am going to put you back behind stage and I'll join you shortly while I close us out. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining again with us. I really hope that you enjoyed all that you heard and that this was a benefit to you and that you're able to make a change in your life. These conversations that we're having and the last couple of conversations have really been focused on just that empowerment piece that Juneteenth NYC stands on, right? And the education part of it as well, not just being about it, but actually doing something. In the Bible, it talks about, faith without works is dead. And this is one of those things we have to put the work in order to see it manifest on the other side for us. So I pray that this was beneficial and helpful to you and that you were able to take the information and use it to expand yourself. I do have a couple of announcements that I do want to share. We do have our events that are coming up on, let me find where it just went. So we have tonight, we're doing a info session. So if you are interested, we have a training or workshop on our marketing website. So we are looking to have you join us if you are interested. So I will drop the link in the chat for that. We also have our first, what is it called? Our model workshop that'll be on this Saturday. That'll be in person in New York City. So if you are interested in that, we'll also drop the link for that in the chat. And definitely would like for you to be able to join. If you're interested in being a model, a designer, anything in that field going into fashion, this is a great space. Again, we are very big on education and wanting to make sure that you are learning everything that you can so that you have the most informed information. We also will be doing a series of workshops for our vendors. If you are looking to be a vendor, and not just at our event, but in any event, learning about making sure you have your EIN, having the proper insurance for your business. Like those are always things that people are always struggling to understand and to make sure that they have. So we want to make sure that you have that in place. So again, I'm going to drop the information for the marketing tidbits. So if you're interested in that, you also have the opportunity to volunteer, and we have options for people who are virtual to be able to volunteer as well for our virtual summit that we do. That is on June the 19th. So if you are interested, we'll be doing a series of 6 hours just like this, but 30-minute fireside chat conversations over the span of 6 hours on different topics of finance and health and wellness. And we are looking for individuals to be able to join us for that and to be a part of that. And then lastly, if you know anyone who is interested in being a sponsor for Juneteenth to keep things like this going, where we can continue to have presentations come on, we can keep the lights on, so they say, this is opportunity. You can go to our website, which is juneteenthny.com, and donate. Or if you have a sponsor or organization that would love to have a tax deductible option, we are a 501c3, and so I'll drop that in the chat as well. But we definitely encourage you to be able to support us so that we can keep conversations like this happening ongoing. So that's all for me. I thank you so much again for joining us. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to having you back with us next week, Thursday. So until then, have a great one. Be blessed and stay educated, everyone. Bye.